Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and Monky D. Luffy, the Pirate King himself, is back, this time in the machine gun from the east, the Akizuki. And I still haven't managed to get to this destroyer yet myself, but I really want to. And perhaps after I record this video, I'll sit down and just finish out the Shiratsu to get there. Everything about it kind of appeals to me. Even with the upcoming changes, it doesn't really worry me. I like the rate of fire. I think it's a rather unique ship. There's not a lot of destroyers that kind of go about things the way it does, and part of that comes down to the tiny guns and massive rate of fire. And overall, just think it looks like a fun ship to sail. So obviously you can see land of fire and tier 8 game with a couple carriers, but while the carriers don't pose a huge damage threat to Monky, they definitely pose a spotting threat. And that's one of the first things I look at when I wind up in a game is, are there carriers? Because they affect, especially in a DD, they affect how you go about the match. Because now you have to think about staying close enough to friendly cruisers and battleships to be in their AA bubble that you're not going to get caught out alone by some planes that can sit over you all day and never really pay the price. Even in something like The Sims that has, you know, the defensive AA cooldown, or really any of the high tier American destroyers. Even with it active, you get maybe one or two. But either way, Monky has started his onslaught, and you can see mixing up the AP and the HE. And getting some really good damage into that Leander. Now, granted, it is a Leander. Pretty thin armor. Probably one of the few ships these shells can actually penetrate. And he's racking up some serious damage pretty quickly. You know, 7,000 damage isn't a ton, but for a destroyer at that kind of range, guns only, you know, 8,300 damage, 37 hits is an impressive number. And well, Monky is now the focus of that enemy Benson. You can see him slowing down here. And all he was doing was trying to let the Benson get past that headland over here, because the second he goes past it, he's no longer spotted. Unfortunately, the Benson's not stupid, so he turns about, and Monky got spotted temporarily by a plane, but the bloom has cooled down, it's shrunk back into that 6.6, and he's safe. And that's what I say about using land and sightlines to your advantage. That's what I'm talking about, is being aware of how ships are moving, and when you want to break contact, forcing them to do it. You know, if Monky had stayed at full speed and remained spotted, probably would have taken some more damage. Now you can see in chat, he's getting a little upset. And I can see why. It's the bloody lemming train. And more I notice this happening. For a long time, the lemming train on this map used to be off to the west. You know, big open water, the battleships liked it. But I'm noticing as time progresses, ships are liking to come over to this area in the east. And I think it's because more often, even battleships are using the hard cover of land to their advantage. The issue is, you also have to make decisions that are to your team's advantage, and the whole team sailing over this way and leaving two battleships back at the cap is not to the team's advantage. So Monky, you can see, is turned around. He's working this Aoba off as he returns towards the base, though he's slowed up because free shots, and you can see that Aoba just on the edge of stealth fire. Kind of sad that this ship won't be able to do that come the next patch, assuming things remain the way they are going. And yeah, not sure what people think of that. I really liked my proposed idea where gun caliber affects bloom duration. So yeah, the bloom goes right out to the absolute limit of your range. But if your guns are tiny, it's only like that for a second or two. If your guns are huge, it's like that for, you know, the standard 20. And just sliding scale in between based on caliber. I think that might be a better way to go about it, but we'll see. And I do not expect this is the last time Wargaming will touch the mechanic, because they'll see the result of the mechanic. Maybe it's exactly what they want, maybe it's not, and they'll adjust. And that's something more often I find myself having to tell myself, is that, you know, they're just trying to find a balance. The game is still young. You know, it came out, I would say, fairly early in development. You really only had 2 completed nations. We've now got, you know, 4 partial nations. The Brits are on the way, the French are on the way, there's Italian premium ships coming. There's a lot to still add to this game, and if I look back on tanks, from where I started playing it to where it is now, they've put so much work into that game. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt for now that they are trying to make things better. Meanwhile, Monky is just trying to make this Aoba's life a living hell. And I find that's one of the frustrating things being in a ship pursued by a destroyer, is just that continuous barrage. It never really does a lot of damage, but it forces you out of the fight. Now in some cases that can be more useful than the potential damage you could do. Case in point, that Aoba's been chased back pretty much to his own cap, and, you know, no longer close enough to be torpedoing this ball of ships in the cap, who, when Monky turned around, they all turned around. And that's pretty much the definition of a lemming train. And this Benson is not in a happy place, and things aren't going to get better for him, because Monky's chased him right in towards an Edinburgh and a friendly battleship. If only he could hit him. That Benson doing everything he can, adjusting his speed, turning back and forth hard, but Monky quickly ranging back in, getting shots on target, and here comes his first smoke. And I like the use of the smoke. At the point where the Benson is, you know, it's up to other things to detect him. You can see the friendly aircraft right over his head, so that Benson's going to get spotted. So Monky can go stealth, because there's this Moggy right here to deal with. And one of the reasons I'm excited about the Akizuki is, just like the Shiratsu, it gets this torp reload buff that pretty much gives you another instant set of torps. The only downside is the Akizuki only has 1 set of tubes. So unlike the Shiratsu, where you can just flood the ocean with 16 torpedoes, a little more reserved here. You know, you get your set off, you pop that cooldown booster, and you can get another set into the water. Though right here, it looks like Monky's content to just let the standard reload take its place. He's hidden, nope, there it is, and 3 seconds later, he's got the torps back. And I was expecting them to be used right away, because I would have tried to get 2 volleys off of that Amagi, really pincer him in. And you can see, Monky just shoots at the edge of land. You could see that gray indicator from that enemy Amagi slowly ticking forward, which means, yeah, he's probably accelerating. Which, if he continues to do, will accelerate him right in to a set of 4 of Monky's torpedoes. And you have to wonder if the Amagi knows what the Akizuki has for a loadout. Perhaps he goes, he's only got 1 set, there they go, I'm safe. Because, well, Monky works down this one Amagi. Looks like the torps missed the other one. Nope, there one is. So he still does get one in, but he's in big trouble now. That Aoba has closed him in really tight, and proves a pretty big threat. Fortunately, Monky is not shy about getting all his guns on target and starts pumping citadels. And the Aoba could have completely avoided that by angling in. By sitting completely side on like that, things are going to get your citadels. And you'll see cruiser players complain that, that's so broken, you shouldn't have been able to citadel me your destroyer. They're still huge guns. Like, you know, the smallest guns in this game that are main guns are essentially like the biggest you're ever going to see in World of Tanks. To really put things into perspective, I think a lot of people don't realize just how big these ships actually are. Now, obviously some have been down to museums, but having served on what was essentially a destroyer, it was a frigate, but we're Canada and we're afraid of scary names, so it really did serve kind of the role of a destroyer, or an anti-submarine destroyer. It's the size of this Akizuki, and it is huge. 200 people living on board takes a lot of space. Throw in all the engines and stuff, these ships aren't small. And at times, they do start to feel that way. I think the scale of the game messes with people too, because a New Mexico at 10 kilometers like that, real life, open ocean, or anywhere on this globe, just because of the curvature of the Earth, you wouldn't see half his ship. Most of it would be hull down. You'd see some of the top of his mast, maybe his bridge, but the actual hull of the ship would be disappeared. And those are just decisions that had to be made to make this game playable by the masses. You don't want to drive around for the 4 hours to 4 weeks that real ships in the Navy did, trying to find contact and other ships to deal with and conduct their mission. And well, got one Monky down. It's time to go to work on the other one. And well, that liquidator that I completely missed definitely helped Monky get the damage up. And I suspect this Amagi here is going to provide a juicy target. He's got about a minute until his next set of torpedoes are loaded, and then 30 seconds until that cooldown. So if I were him, I would wait for the normal reload, use them, then the cooldown. But he's probably not going to need them. Gets 2 torpedoes in from his last volley into that Amagi. The guy just sailing straight into them. And because you got floods, you now know it's time to light fires. And Monky's trying just that, just volley after volley of AP. Just the rate of fire out of these guns. He's gonna get a fire eventually. And he's aiming for the right spot too. You'll notice his aim indicator is kind of above the decks, not at the waterline. A lot of more inexperienced players would just, they aim at the waterline by default, but with HE you want to be hitting the superstructure, you know, thinner chunks of armor where you can get detonations that cause damage. And reading the other day on Reddit, again, someone was asking for some, you know, kind of advice on how to aim, and that's a big part, is know the shells you're using, the kind of caliber, and what armor they can get through. There's situations where, you know, AP, aim for the superstructure. The British ship's a perfect example. You don't really care about the hull until they're in close. But this game is going very well, getting close to the perfect sweep, and I would love to see that. Monky's done an incredible amount of damage and really been the most aggressive ship on his team. And it's paid off for him. He's gotten the damage, he's gotten kills, got torps in, pumped citadels into an Aoba, and I really do feel made a difference in this game. Right at the start when he was over in the east and noticed the lemming train, you know, you have 2 choices. You can kind of just keep doing your own thing and ignore it, or do what he did and head back. Fortunately, it prompted a lot of people to also return to their base, so they never had their cap threatened. And that is massive in these standard battles. You wouldn't believe how many times I've watched games just go out the door because one enemy ship just avoided contact and went into the cap. One of my earlier videos in a Fubuki on Neighbors, I sailed around the map and into the little harbor. Parked myself in smoke in the tiny little harbor that you can actually get most of a ship into that's right inside a cap, and just capped the base. No one even died. Sure, not the most interesting game, but I go for the wins. That's really, you know, it's a competitive game. The competitive part of me cares more about a win. And it teaches people a stupid frickin' lesson. You have to respect your own base. You cannot just give it up and assume someone else will take care of it. And that's definitely something I took away from tanks, and I, you know, applied right from day one in Warships. Is if it ever looks like the base is going to be under threat, I turn around. You know, sometimes you get back, another friendly dealt with it, and there's no threat. But if you don't, you're going to get caught out. So when you're playing games, if you notice that, hey, no one's defending our base, they're going to get in there, don't spam chat complaining that someone else should deal with it. go deal with it yourself like Monky. And case in point, he still got tons of damage. He did not give up having a good game for defending the base, because ultimately good plays lead to good games. I cannot stress that enough. Good teamwork leads to good games. And well, if there hasn't been a better sitting target, Monky puts the torps right at him, and you can see he's sailing out. He got that reload on, gets one torpedo in, 12,000 damage, just continuing to buff that total, and probably a little eager to get one last kill. The New Mexico's starting to move, so you kind of have to judge what he's going to do. And I agree with Monky. He's turning left. He's trying to tuck himself around that corner, so he throws the torpedoes a little to his port side, and, well, you're going to get at least one in a situation like this. There it is, another 12,000 damage, and Monky's not backing away. He is more than content, because you can see the New Mexico has his guns on the wrong side, and they're slowly coming around, but with this kind of rate of fire, and once again, aiming at the right spot, superstructure with his AP, he picks up the kill right before they win the game. Well, thought they were about to win there. Clearly someone left the cap. But let's hop to post-battle, because nothing else is going to happen. And ultimately, an amazingly well-played game. 385,000 credits, 5,200 experience, Liquidator, Confederate, Witherer, High Caliber, 195,000 damage with 473 shell hits, it looks like, 5 torpedoes, shot some planes down, only 3 kills, but really made the decisions that helped his team win the game. And the big one was turning back. When he saw everyone lemminging down the one side, he turned around. And you have to do that. You can't give up an entire side of the map. And it sucks to be that one guy sometimes, but ultimately it's what helps you win. And when you make the right decision and play well, 2,300 experience, top a team, you get rewarded. You know, like I said, good decisions lead to good games. And ultimately those selfish ones about, oh, I'm just going to do damage myself, you're going to lose you a game. The other big thing was almost a clean sweep. They only lost one ship in the end there. And when you look at the damage, you can see who Monky worked over the most. The battleships. Well, and an Aoba who got a little aggressive and then a little timid. I really do think if that Aoba just kept bowing and pressed, he had a chance to hurt Monky very seriously. At the end of the day, Monky took home 222,000 credits, 5,200 experience, and just showed off how good this ship can be and makes me want it even more. So thank you very much, Monky D. Luffy. If you guys enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. As always, I'm Qckslvrslash. I'll have another one for you later.